as Sagar mentioned, my name is Sahil. I'm extremely passionate about sleep, and I'll tell you a little bit why. I'm a physician by training. I did my training for internal medicine at UCLA. I worked as an internist for a few years, and then I had the opportunity to do a fellowship. A fellowship is additional training in pulmonary and critical care medicine. I was at Loma Linda for about 3 years doing that. And as a pulmonary, you probably may know this, but intensive care units can be pretty intense. And as a fellow, when you're working there, you're mixed between day shift, night shift, and a lot of different things. So I was working, 70 plus hour weeks. We had a young family, and sleep deprivation was something that I personally struggled with. And so that made me become very interested in the world of sleep medicine and sleep healthcare. With that idea of understanding more about sleep and the brokenness of the sleep healthcare space, I had the opportunity to go to Boston, was at Harvard for a year to do my sleep medicine fellowship, and that really changed my life. And that's the DNA of that institution is really ingrained into our day-to-day practices and how we operate and how the kind of quality of care that we want all of our patients and members and clients to get. With that being said, what do you guys see? You feel free to unmute yourself.
Tesla?
A Tesla. Do you know the model?
Either an E or a Y, or maybe it's the S.
Maybe a different M. It's one of the alphabets, right? It's a Model S, I think. But what's happening to the car? Is it running? Is it parked? What's going on?
Being charging.
Yeah, exactly. It's being charged. It is only being charged. And you know that because you are aware of the idea of what charging is. And if I told you that not only is this vehicle being charged, but we had the tools and technology to go inside and wash it, vacuum the inside of the car, put a layer of tread over the wheels, followed by a layer of armor oil, and someone can go in and change the brake fluid. Somebody's topping off the windshield wiper fluid. If I told you that that would be possible, you would not believe me, because right now in the car space, that is not possible. This is very similar to what happens when we sleep. There's a distinct difference between resting and sleeping. When we sleep, our body changes from the processes of daytime to the processes of nighttime. Those include what's happening in the brain, what's happening in the cardiovascular system, what's happening in the GI tract. So if sleep is interrupted for anybody, for whatever reason, all of the processes that are supposed to happen, they will be interrupted and they will not be as efficient. So now you can start imagining that if somebody's not getting an adequate amount of healthy sleep, why is it that they feel a certain way the following day? And if somebody doesn't get healthy sleep for decades, why is it that they develop all of these different downstream problems a few decades out? So sleep is the foundation. We like to think about it as sleep as the foundation on which the pillars of health sit. Whether it's the pillar of mental health, nutrition, exercise, they all sit on the foundation of sleep. If sleep is healthy, all of these things become a lot easier. The goal for today that I would like to talk to you guys about, and it's more of a discussion rather than a talk, is, why is sleep so important? How can you improve your sleep? And then what are some of the tools that are available that you can use to understand the overall quality of your sleep? Any ideas from the audience? Why do you think sleep is important? I shed a little bit of light on this, but what are your thoughts?
To give you more energy.
Okay. Liz?
I would think to charge you so that you could think clearly.
So thinking, cognition, so memory, cognition.
And that's what I was going to say, was kind of like charging up and memory thing. I know, like, after a night of poor sleep, it takes me a lot longer to my brain to turn on for work in the morning.
Yeah, so like playing a role in energy conservation, right? Any of you have children? Yeah. What about behavior? Have you ever noticed when your kids don't sleep well, do they behave the same?
Oh, it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's ridiculous. Like, and we can tell when he's tired and wants to go to sleep, but like can't. And I mean, it's just like you can't even reason with him.
Yeah.
The mood is not the same. There's a mood change.
Absolutely. So sleep plays as you can start, these are the visual things that you can start seeing. But there are a lot more subtle things that are happening at a internal level too. But you can just start imagining that if you have somebody who is not sleeping well in their adult life, and this is for prolonged periods of time, what are some of the downstream consequences that are going to happen as a result of that? This is a really nice quote that I love, and I'll read it out loud. If sleep does not serve an absolutely vital function, then it's the biggest mistake the evolutionary process has ever made. Since humans have been around for over 300,000 years, there's typically, evolution does not make mistakes. So if evolution has designed us to sleep for an 8-hour, 7 to 9 hour period for adults, there has to be a very strong biologic reason for that. And some of the functions of sleep, you guys mentioned some of them: energy conservation, not feeling, if sleep is broken, I don't feel as energetic the following day. We talked about memory reinforcement and consolidation. This is actually quite interesting. And this has been studied numerous times, where if you take a cohort of individuals who, you take two cohorts of individuals and you teach them both the same new skill set. You allow one group of them to sleep 6 to 8 hours. You allow the other group to sleep 4 to 6 hours. The following day, those individuals who slept 4 to 6 hours will recall 50% less than those who had 6 to 8 hours of sleep. So if you have children, like, it just sort of, or if you're an adult who's aspiring to have good memory, sleep plays an extremely important role in the consolidation and reinforcement of memories. The other thing sleep does, it plays a big role in brain and body restoration. Growth hormone is a hormone that is exclusively produced during sleep. Growth hormone is necessary for all of our muscle regeneration and muscle growth. A very important function of sleep is all of the toxins that build up in the brain. That's called in the lymphatic system. All of those toxins are filtered during sleep. People who don't sleep well and their lymphatic system does not function optimal, they're at a higher risk of developing problems like Alzheimer's disease and not being able to think as clearly. People who are chronically poor sleepers, they tend to get sick more often. One of the best examples of this is if you take two cohorts of people and you immunize them with some kind of a vaccine on that same day, those who are sleep deprived that night, they mount a less profound response to that vaccine as compared to those who had an adequate amount of sleep that night. So getting sleep plays a big role in our immunity. Sleep, and there's a whole bunch of other functions of sleep that we don't completely understand, but these are the things that have been studied and extremely well documented. At another core physiologic level, during sleep, a couple of other things are happening. Our body temperature drops. I don't know if you've ever noticed that if you wake up very early in the morning, you may feel more colder than you do at a different time. That's because of a physiologic drop in our body temperature. The other thing that happens is during sleep, urine production is supposed to come down. During sleep is when the blood flow to our brain is at its peak. REM sleep is dream sleep, is almost the same as being awake from a brain metabolic standpoint. So brain activity is actually quite high at that time, and blood flow to the brain is quite high. During sleep, blood pressure should be at its lowest. During sleep, cortisol levels should be dropping. During sleep, growth hormone should be at its peak. So if somebody has interrupted sleep, either from sleep apnea, restless legs, insomnia, whatever reason, you can start seeing at a much more physiologic level all of the things that are setting up for disaster in the future. Some more information that is sort of leading into this is that if there is substantial sleep disruption, there's going to be a higher level of catecholamines. Catecholamines are like these stress hormones that are elevated. Cortisol is one of them. If someone's sleep is disrupted, their circadian rhythm, their body clock, the body clock that regulates the biologic day and regulates the biologic night, that gets disrupted. So an example of this idea of a biologic day and a biologic night is, for example, people who are shift workers. They work in the nighttime, but they sleep during the day. But their body night may still be at nighttime. So they won't be able to sleep as good as they can as if they were sleeping in the night. People who have sleep disruption, they have a disruption with insulin sensitivity. People who have sleep issues like sleep apnea, they're at a higher risk of developing diabetes. And one of the reasons for that is that sensitivity to insulin is significantly reduced. The other thing that happens in sleep disruption, any of you felt really hungry after pulling an all-nighter? Yes, yeah, I see Lizette here. And one of the reasons for that is hormones that control our appetite and satiety, like the sense of fullness, leptin and ghrelin, those get dysregulated when someone's sleep is disrupted. So people who have sleep issues, it's not uncommon for them to have poor eating habits and develop problems like obesity. If sleep is disrupted, as I mentioned, during sleep, we should be conserving our oxygen. We don't want it to be, and if sleep is disrupted, oxygen consumption goes up. Sleep disruption is also pro-inflammatory. And we know that inflammation, whether it's for our blood vessels, for our muscles, for our brain, is not healthy. So if someone has sleep disruption, a whole cascade of events end up happening that are related to pro-inflammation. And short term, we've all been sleep deprived. And if you restore sleep, all of those symptoms get better, and the body has this natural ability to restore to its native physiology. But if this happens over decades, we develop all of these downstream consequences: cardiovascular disease, whether it's hypertension, atrial fibrillation, heart failure, whether it's neurologic disease, like being at a higher risk of having a stroke, whether it's becoming obese, whether it's developing type 2 diabetes. And people who have sleep disorders live shorter than people who do not have sleep disorders. So overall, not only is quality of life impaired, but the lifespan is also shorter. Any ideas in how you can improve your sleep?
I mean, I've heard, like reducing caffeine certain amount of time before you go to bed, not looking at your phone or like TVs or electronics and stuff, those type of things.
Why is it important to reduce caffeine? What does caffeine do to your sleep? So caffeine is a stimulant, right? Caffeine is a stimulant. And what happens over the course of the day is there's a molecule in the brain that builds up over time. The longer we are awake, the higher the level of this molecule. This molecule is called adenosine. Adenosine makes us sleepy. And caffeine inhibits the effects of adenosine. So if we wake up and there's no adenosine in our brain, I'll just use that as an example, over the course of the day, as we stay awake longer and longer and longer, we will naturally get sleepier and sleepier and sleepier. Caffeine inhibits the effects of adenosine, thereby mitigating the level of sleepiness. If caffeine is consumed too late in the evening, it does not allow our body to have the healthiest possible deep sleep that we would have had otherwise. So limiting caffeine at least 8 hours before bed is extremely important. There are things like alcohol. Alcohol destroys the deep sleep that we typically have during the night. We want to limit alcohol at least a couple of hours before bed. We don't want to do any kind of like hard physical activity like hours before bed. We don't want to go to the gym at 10 p.m., for example. We don't want to consume too much food too close to bedtime. We want to give ourselves at least 2 hours before habitual sleep time to stop eating. We want to reduce the amount of electronics that we use in the evening hours, especially an hour before bed. So these electronics, whether it's a laptop, a computer, a desktop, a television screen, or a mobile phone, they emit this thing called blue light. You may have heard of this. You can see these blue light blockers all over the internet and at stores. And to understand this, we need to understand that light, which has been around for billions of years, is a regulator of our circadian system. The presence of light inhibits the body's natural endogenous melatonin production. So if there is light in the hours of the evening time or darkness, that will signal our brain that it's still daytime. And when that natural endogenous melatonin level for melatonin production was supposed to happen, that won't happen. So blue light in the hours of darkness inhibits natural melatonin levels that are supposed to be rising, thereby making it harder for us to fall asleep and going to bed later. So limiting the amount of electronics at least 30 minutes to an hour before bed is extremely important. Things that you can do to prime your body for sleep are just some kind of a relaxing activity, whether that's reading on a book with a book, whether that's some kind of stretching exercises, yoga, meditation, and creating an environment of darkness in a room that is cold and dark. The other thing that is extremely important that's not mentioned here is we want to reserve our bedroom for just, sleep and sex. If we create these associations in our mind that our bedroom is a place of work, the bedroom is a place of anxiety, the bedroom is a place of where I cannot get sleep, then those associations will get stronger and stronger over time, and it makes it harder for us to fall asleep in our bedroom. But the two most important things that, if there's anything that you want to take away from today, is that you want to have a consistent sleep time and a consistent wake up time. That flux could be perhaps a 30-minute flux on a day-to-day basis, but if it's a couple of hour difference on a daily basis, that's not going to be healthy for our circadian system, and it will make it harder for us to actually fall asleep during the hours of darkness. The other thing that I would invite you to do is equalize the amount of time that you sleep to the amount of time that you spend in bed. Spending time in bed that is not sleeping does not help us sleep, because that creates the association of being awake in bed. And that's something that we don't want to do. Insomnia is a problem that affects over 30 million people in the United States. And part of the behaviors that perpetuate the symptoms of insomnia, we call these maladaptive behaviors that perpetuate the symptoms of insomnia, is actually spending too much time in bed and trying to sleep. If you cannot sleep, let's figure out why you cannot sleep, but spending too much time in bed usually is extremely disruptive to our overall sleep health. How do you know if your sleep is healthy? I see Liz, you're wearing an Apple. Is that an Apple Watch?
No, I'm wearing it's a Samsung Galaxy, but I was actually getting ready to say my watch tells me when I went to bed and how many times I woke up in the middle of the night and when I woke up. So that's really the only thing that I've got to go on.
Yeah, that could be one thing. How you feel the next day could be another. Do you feel rested upon awakening? These are, rough ways of, in the pre-wearable era, people would feel that their sleep is either healthy or unhealthy, mostly subjectively. Now we have with these wearable technologies, it's becoming more and more objective, and there is a higher level of awareness of how healthy is my sleep, whether it's an Oura Ring or an iPhone or an iWatch, or if it's a Garmin or a Samsung. They give us a lot of awareness that my sleep is not healthy. The architecture of sleep may not be the best, but they don't really give us any insights into what's wrong and what to do with that information. And if somebody is consistently seeing on a majority basis that their overall quality of sleep is poor, if that individual wanted to get a better understanding of their sleep, they would sort of go down this maze of healthcare, of what we call healthcare, trying to get a sleep study, talking to a sleep doctor, figuring out what are the tools that I need so that I can optimize my sleep. They would include PCP visits, in-lab study, maybe a home sleep test, but people tend to get lost. So what we've put together is an online solution for patients who think they may have a sleep issue. The way it works is that you sign up online. We mail you a medical grade home sleep test. It's a little device that goes on your finger. You wear it, you get that data on a daily basis, and you have a trained personnel who is reviewing that data with you on an ongoing basis to give you personalized insights and to give you personalized data and guidance on what to do so you can get to a better overall health for your sleep. This is an example of what the patient interface looks like. You can see your sleep quality across time. You can see if you're having any apneas. Apneas are pauses in breathing for people who have sleep apnea. You can measure that across time. You can communicate with your care personnel. And the coolest thing is you can also journal. What are the things that you are doing to try to improve your sleep so that you can track what is working and what is not working. But the goal is that if somebody has better sleep, similar to how if someone's sleep is broken, there's a cascade of downstream events. If sleep is healthier, there's a cascade of downstream events. Those include better mood, then that includes better cardiovascular health, that includes better regulation of their blood sugar, less insulin resistance. There is improved cognitive function, there's better athletic performance, and there's a significant improvement in overall mental health, whether that's any mood disorder like anxiety or depression or anything in that category. It's a tough place to be in. There's no perfect solution. You know, if we have chosen the responsibility of children, then nighttime awakenings is a part of that responsibility. But there are things that you can do to help. And one of those things is to maintain an environment of darkness. And then like not to the darkness, not to the point where you are, you know, at risk of falling or something, but just you want to maintain a level of darkness within the home. You want to maintain that your home is cold during that time. If you are awake and if that awakening is close to your usual wake up time, the best thing is just to get out of bed. Laying in bed with negative thoughts will only build and drive the association of I'm frustrated, I'm anxious, I'm annoyed, and I'm in bed. And you don't want that. You don't want those negative thoughts to be happening in bed because you don't want to reinforce that association. So if you are awake and you can't go back to sleep, it's better to get out of bed. If it's closer to the middle of like the earlier part of the night, in those situations, if the association of the bed is not that of I cannot sleep here, then typically the drive for sleep is so high in the earlier half of the night that it should be easier for one to fall asleep. Those would be like my recommendations. And then obviously maybe not drinking too much water, not taking a snack in the middle of the night, because eating is actually a cue to our brain to wake up. So just maintaining a healthy relationship with sleep, healthy sleep habits, and reducing the amount of time that you spend in bed that is awake, those combined together can help. But obviously, if the children are awake, that's they need the mother's attention. That could go either way. You are sleeping, if you are functioning off of less hours of sleep as you get older, but you feel horrible the next day, that's a clue that something is wrong. But if you are able to function off of less hours of sleep as you get older, but you function well the next day, that's a sign that our sleep is getting old. And getting old over time is not necessarily pathology. But if you feel that there are any alarm symptoms like snoring, witness pauses in breathing, pain or discomfort in your legs that doesn't allow you to get comfortable, not waking up rested, then I would be more concerned. But if you can function off of less hours of sleep, going to bed a little bit, usually what happens when people get older is they go to bed earlier and wake up earlier. That's the natural tendency. But as long as you feel rested upon awakening, that's the most important thing. The context depends. I would hate for sleep physicians to think of themselves as like the sleep police. If someone's taking a nap and they're retired, that's well and good for them. But if somebody is taking a nap because of a pathologic level of sleepiness, that's a clue that something is not healthy during the night. If someone is taking a nap during the day because they cannot sleep at nighttime, that's actually not healthy because one is reducing the amount of sleep drive that would have built up that would allow them to sleep better at night. So taking naps could be beneficial as long as they don't impair you to be able to sleep at nighttime, and as long as you feel relatively rested upon awakening. So taking naps is not necessarily a bad thing. And if you do take a nap, you want to limit the duration of that nap to perhaps 20 to 40 minutes. You don't want to take 1 hour or 2 hour naps. If that is happening, that's concerning that there might be something wrong with someone's sleep, that they're having to sleep that much during the hours of daylight. That's an interesting question because it's probably a little bit different for everybody. As you previously saw, during sleep, body temperature is supposed to drop. So by reducing the external environmental temperature, we're facilitating the process of allowing our body temperature to drop. So typically for most people, we recommend somewhere between 69-ish degrees Fahrenheit for that to be the room temperature, and that will make it easier for you to fall asleep. This becomes a little bit different if, say, somebody's going through menopause and they're having hot flashes. For that individual, the right room temperature might be a bit different. Or if someone feels cold in the middle of the night, for them, maybe the right temperature might be a little bit on the higher side. So it can be personalized depending on the context, but typically 69 degrees, 68, somewhere between 70, somewhere between that is typically a healthy temperature to keep in your room environment.